Hi, thank you for joining us. We're here with Michael Edward for an introduction on tapping in EFT. Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Great, great. So happy to have you.
It's good to be had.
What do you want to share with us about tapping?
Well, everything. First, I'll just say that, hi, everybody. I'm Michael Edward, and I'm the author of Ordinary People, Extraordinary Lives, and putting together a course on self-improvement that is coming later on. All kinds of stuff coming up. So I'm sure Maria will keep you up to date on my little activities. And if you've worked on self-improvement before, be it in law of attraction or anything to do with trying to make changes in your life, and you're finding it difficult to stay with something, it's probably because of limiting beliefs. It's probably because of fear. And this is where tapping comes in. Tapping is so good. It's called Emotional FreedomTechnique, commonly known as tapping. And it helps eliminate all kinds of things. So I hope you're going to find this informative, and I'll do my best to explain it. And I believe later on we might be doing an example. I'm not exactly sure about that yet. I think we're going to have a testimonial shortly from somebody that I've worked with. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. So what is tapping? Tapping is basically, it's sort of on the principle of acupressure as opposed to acupuncture. You're tapping on meridian points. So they are actual meridian points. They are acupressure points. And as you are tapping on those points, you're going to be saying things. And the whole purpose behind tapping is to remove any negative or hurtful emotions related to an event or situation. Tapping is great for illnesses. It's great for eliminating addictions of all kinds, cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, doesn't matter, food cravings. You can use tapping for if you have a cold. You can use tapping for if you've injured yourself, anything at all. You can throw tapping at it, because the worst it'll do is nothing. The best it'll do is everything for you. There is no negative side effects that I've ever heard of for tapping. And I've done a lot of study in this area for a lot of years, and I've worked with quite a few people myself. So what is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to explain the tapping points. All right. And Maria has provided handouts, but if you're listening to this on the MP3, I'm going to take you through it. So on the side of the hand, there's a karate chop, and that's like if you were going to karate chop a piece of wood or something, on the outside of your hand, below your baby knuckle and above your wrist on the side of the hand. You take your other hand and smack it. Just tap it. Yeah, smacking it, but you're just tapping it. And then you move to the top of the head, and you just sort of turn your fingers into like a claw, and you just tap around the top of your head, sort of in a circle. And then you move to the eyebrow. You're actually on the inside of the eyebrow. Take two fingers, so the eyebrow close to your nose, okay, on the eye bone, and on the side of the eye, on the orbital bone, on the side of the eye, again, two fingers. And I'll mention now that it doesn't matter whether you do right-handed or left-handed or right side or left side. It doesn't matter. They're bilateral. You can do two hands if you want to. I never have. Okay, so under the eye, again on the orbital bone, take two or three fingers. Now you don't have to be super accurate. Okay, under the eye on the bone. Under the nose, so it's between your nose and your lip, your upper lip. And that, again, just take two fingers. And then the chin is the divot between your chin and your lip. Okay? So again, take two fingers. Now, the next one is the collarbone. The positioning is at the U of the collarbone. If you go down a little bit and over to either side, all right? That's a little tricky to explain. It's a little tricky to find. So the trick is to turn your hand into a gentle fist and knock on it. Okay? I'll mention about this point right here. If you find yourself getting upset, then you want to knock here. Just tap. Even if you don't say anything, it doesn't matter because you're upset now. It's in your field, okay? But that's a great relaxing point. I can already feel a tingle just from that, okay? And then the next one is basically across from your nipples under your armpit. So on the side of your body, and they call it the underarm point, but it's across from your nipples on the side of your body, okay? So those are the basic points. There's some advanced things that I'm not going to get into right now, like the 9 gamut. That's when people are really stuck. I pull out the big guns and we do the 9 gamut, but I'm not going to go through that in this introductory course unless we're working with somebody and we're stuck and I need to. But that's the points. So top of the head, eyebrow, side of the eye, under the nose, chin, collarbone, and arm, under the arm, okay? And side of the hand, of course, the karate chop point, side of the hand. All right, so those are the points. And how do you use it? Well, the recipe is pretty simple. Let's just take the example of a headache right now. If anybody has a headache, we'll go through this. You tap on the side of your hand and you say, even though I got this headache, I accept myself. Again, even though I got this headache, I accept myself. And you tap it on the side of your hand the whole time. Even though I got this headache, I accept myself totally. And then we'll move the top of the head, this headache. And then the eyebrow point, this headache. You're tapping about 7 to 10 times, just as you talk. You don't have to count. On the side of the eye, this headache. Under the eye, this headache. Under the nose, this headache. On the chin, this headache. On the collarbone, this headache. Under the arm, this headache. Take a deep breath. Okay? And that's one round of EFT. If you want to go ahead and do a second round, you do not need to go back to the karate chop. Just go straight to the top of the head and work your way down again. All right, and then you stop. You take another deep breath as you're tapping on the side of your under your arm. And when you've taken the deep breath and let it go, now the key is you need to take sort of a level of discomfort. And what that means is, how bad is my headache from 0 to 10? How intense is it? 0 being not at all, and 10 being very, very bad. So you start with that number. Then you make a mental note of it. Maybe it's a 6. You just got a bit of a headache, but it's pretty, it's reasonably bad. And then after you've done a couple of rounds of tapping, you stop and you think for a second, okay, where's my headache now? Has it gone up? And that's not bad, by the way. If it gets worse, that's okay. You're getting to it. Movement is good, whether it's up or down. And if it went down to, say, a 4, well, you've made progress. Now, the reason I say it's okay if it gets worse is because you are getting movement. You are hitting it. And making it worse is okay. You just keep doing more rounds. All right? So when you're going into doing more rounds, here's where you sort of stop and you say, all right, even though I have this remaining headache, I accept myself totally on the side of your hand. Even though I have this remaining headache, I accept myself totally. 3 times. Even though I have this remaining headache, I accept myself totally. Top of the head, remaining headache. Eyebrow, remaining headache. Side of the eye, remaining headache. Under the eye, remaining headache. Under the nose, remaining headache. Chin, remaining headache. Collarbone, remaining headache. Under the arm, remaining headache. Deep breath. Okay, what's my level of discomfort now? Okay. And you keep working it through like that as you're watching the levels go down. All right. It may go up in the beginning, but it will start coming down until the headache is 0. Now, the headache will probably come back, maybe in an hour, maybe in 10 minutes. And the reason is because there's an event that caused the headache. And you may or may not know what that is. But as you're tapping, at least not in the beginning, when you're sitting there, go, I got a headache. Why do I have a headache? I don't know why I have a headache. So once you start tapping, the really interesting thing, and I'm telling you, I've worked with quite a few people, and it happens every time, events pop up. You might hear words. You might see a picture. And that is what you need. That is what you need to talk about. That is what you need to tap on, is that event. Okay? So it could be something from your childhood, usually is. Could be something from your teens, often is. Could be something that happened yesterday. But you don't know what it's going to be until you get to working with it. All right? Now that's sort of the basic recipe. So side of the hand, even though I have whatever it is, even though I want a cigarette, if you're quitting smoking, even though I got a craving for a cigarette or whatever words you want to use, you use it. So even though I got this craving for a cigarette, I accept myself totally. Even though I got this craving for a cigarette, I accept myself totally. So you do that 3 times, and then you go through. I want a cigarette. I crave a cigarette. I need a cigarette. So you tap down these points, as I've illustrated earlier, and you get to the bottom and you take a deep breath at the armpit, under the arm really, and then you go back through again, and in no time at all, the craving for a cigarette will be gone, or craving for chocolate, or whatever your addiction might be, or whatever your situation might be. So the rule of thumb is don't have any doubt, just throw EFT at it. Now, we're going to talk about, different scenarios and different people I've worked with and so on, but there are some advanced techniques that I do want to share with you right now, just to make you aware that there are tricks. And one thing that you need to understand is something called aspects. All right, I think this is vital. The best example I can give is a phobia. So say you have a phobia of a snake, right? And you come to me and you say, man, I got to get rid of this phobia, the snake phobia that I have. All right, well, no problem. We'll sit down and we'll start working on it. Okay. So what scares you about a snake? Oh God, just seeing one just sends me through the roof. Okay, great. Think about it right now. Yeah. What's your level of discomfort right now? Oh, like it's a 9, I'm just like, can't stand snakes. Okay, great. So we start working on it. And we bring it down to a 0. And so there's no, you think about a snake and it just no negative attachment to it whatsoever anymore. All the emotion is gone. And then you go home and you're sitting on your couch and you're watching a movie and there happens to be a snake in this movie and it's coming towards you on the screen and you start to tense up again. Hey, Michael, he's a quack. He's no good. No. The thing that could be is that the snake you were picturing in your mind was a picture of a still snake. The snake on the TV is a moving snake. Those are 2 separate and distinct aspects. Okay? So when you have an experienced person, such as myself, working with you, I'll dig around with you and I'll try and find various aspects to help you out. So I'll try and cover different angles of whatever it is we're tapping on. Okay? So don't think the tapping didn't work. Of course it worked. You just need to work on the various aspects of it. Another thing that I wanted to discuss is there are different techniques. So in dealing with something heavy, and I believe Janice is going to say a few words on this, there are different techniques that those of us who are very experienced, they call us EFT masters. I find that a little whatever. Anyway, the EFT masters understand different techniques, and one of them is the tear list or movie technique or tell the story technique. And it is a little slower. It does take more time, but it is so much less traumatic to you when we're going through the process. And it's just a wonderful way of working with somebody without having them. They are going to ultimately live through the process again, but unlike other treatments, you're not going to have to, charge your way through it, cry, rant, rave, carry on. No. We're going to pick it apart. We're going to touch on all the different events leading up to it and do it in a very gentle, loving manner. So you are not going to have that much distress. Okay. It's a really good way of working through a trauma. And excuse me, I've worked with rape victims. I've worked with various traumas. I've worked with older people. I've worked with young people. My first victim, as I call them, was one of my sons. My sons had nightmares all the time, and 2 nights would not go by. And then we had a house fire, and it went 2 or 3 nightmares a night. I mean, poor kid. It was just terrible. And when I started studying this some years back, he was pretty little at the time. I worked with him for about 10, 15 minutes. And then he did not have a nightmare for something like 8 months. I can't remember exactly now. No nightmares at all. That was amazing to us. It was just wonderful. And when he did have a nightmare, it was related to a game that he was playing, a video game that he was playing. He felt bad for an animal. So the next day I said, "Do you remember the nightmare?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Do you know what it was about?" And he said, "Yeah, a little bit." And when we started tapping on that for, again, probably 10 minutes or something, it wasn't very long. And then he didn't have another nightmare again for, another several months. So it's great for people of all ages. I just can't say enough about tapping, but we'll talk a little bit more about different scenarios. But as far as stepping back to the tearless technique and the story technique, Maria, did you want to bring Janice in and see what she experienced during that process?
Absolutely. Let me Janice. Hi, Janice.
Hi.
All right. Welcome, hon.
Okay. What Michael was referring to, now I have to say Michael has been very good about getting me to address issues in my life. Part of the issues were, of course, trying to move on in life and meet different goals that I set for myself, and I had certain fears I wanted to get over. Other issues were as easy as alleviating pain, and the tapping technique works really well. Some people find it a little odd to look at. Is you're tapping here, you're tapping here, you're tapping here and here, but it works. It works really well. The issue that Michael brought me through just the last 10 days was a different technique called what he calls the movie technique. And this I required because the incident involved, I'll tell you, was there an intersection here that when I moved back here, I couldn't go through because the intersection brought back memories of when a young boy was killed. And his car just missed my car by inches. And it was going through that whole process. So he took me back to a part of the day, which was a good part of the day. And I had to really think back because every time I thought of the issue, I started to panic. And I knew I was going to cry or whatever. So he brought me back to the starting point. Where did your day start? Where was your happy part of the day? And we took it in segments from, say, I'll just go through. I was at the barns working the horses. So and I was happy, left the barn, moved to an area where I was driving to, hit an intersection, which was 3 intersections above where this horrific accident happened. And took me from a sense of where I was calm back up to where I was starting to feel the fear. And every stage I was getting closer to that intersection. And we played every part out from when the light turned red to the light turned green till we heard the skidding of the car. What did I see in the mirror? What were my reactions? And to the point where there was the impact of the auto and the young man was killed instantly. And his friend coming, realizing he was dead. And I was still at the intersection in panic mode going, my God, he just missed me, but he killed himself. It was a longer way of going through, but I didn't panic. Michael was very, very reassuring, and he kept bringing me back online to what is the issue, where were you, and we'd back up to, okay, you're at the barn, and I go all the way through until I could say what was my level of discomfort, and I brought it down from a 10 down to a 1. And Michael, I think we did that in 20 minutes or more. I don't remember, but
yeah, 20, 30 minutes, something like that. Because every step along the way, you know, it's okay. You're turning onto the highway from the barn.
Yeah.
How do you feel right now? 0. Okay, good. Now the next step is you know, the first intersection. How do you feel? Oh, I'm getting tense now. It's okay. Well, we stop, even though I'm at that intersection. So we tapped on the intersection until it was brought down to a 0. And then we went back to the barn. Now, we don't always have to go right back to the beginning again, depending on how many steps there are in the story. We only have to go back 2 or 3 steps to where we've already taken care of and had her down to a 0. Mm-hmm. And then we moved on through the story to the next step. As soon as she started tense up again, or started to feel distress, that's when we stopped and we said, even though whatever it was at that step, okay, at that stage of the story. And that's what makes this technique so wonderful. Okay, go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, it does, because you say your setup phrase, even though I see this car coming, or I feel fear, I deeply and completely accept myself. And it's that mantra that you go through each time that starts to bring your anxiety level down, and you start to feel better. And with this accident, because it was so jarring to me and so upsetting to me, I didn't realize I still had it because it was 12 years ago. And I went to drive through this intersection a couple of weeks ago, and I went, damn, I can't go through that intersection. I just tensed up completely. I avoided it at all costs. So when we spoke about it, that's when Michael said, I think we're going to need to do the movie technique, but we also did what Michael referred to earlier, which he's not going to get into at this point, was the 9 gamut. Am I correct, Michael?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a different way of one level higher of dealing with the tapping, which I needed to get through the trauma of what I saw, what I felt. And now, Michael also mentioned aspects. I may be able to go through that intersection. I'm going to try. I'm going to go through the intersection, and I don't feel any discomfort at this point talking about it. I'm down to a 0. However, I don't know if I've met everything that affected me that day, and I won't know till I go through the intersection. And there may be some aspects that are going to come up that I'm going to have to address. So whether you're dealing with an issue of, like Michael said, fear of spiders, or you're dealing with a guilt issue of the family and you really want to move on, and I explained to Michael, I look at it as an onion skin. You get through one layer and you go, oh God, I feel good. And then there's a trigger, whether in my instance, I had a family member pass, and I had to deal with the passing and the past, and that brought up a whole layer of issues that I thought I dealt with, but I hadn't. So that's where I really have relied on Michael to help me through this whole both emotional process and a healing process. And he's worked wonders, just wonders. So what more can I say, Michael?
Well, you know, I mean, when I'm wonderful, I'm wonderful. What more can you say?
Of course. But you know what? I do have to say, though, you have to be committed to the process. You have to be committed to the process. You have to tell yourself, I want to deal with this issue. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. And when you tell yourself, I want to be healthy and I want to be happy, you're going to work through it, because it means everything to you to get through there and move on in life. And that's what you need to do. Move on.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
Now, there's a couple other things I want to touch on as well. Often weight loss issues are trauma related or stress related or emotional related. I mean, we all know about comfort foods, you know, grab that jug of ice cream and go to town. Often we know that cigarettes are emotionally driven. When we're annoyed, we smoke more. And alcohol, same thing. Drugs, same thing. So when people have trouble losing weight and they're doing all the right stuff, or at least they're trying to do all the right stuff, but they get these blocks up and they just can't succeed because they're fighting with things that are in their past that they can't take care of on their own without using something like tapping. Now, tapping is not the only release technique out there. There are others. I've explored some. Frankly, I find I get the fastest and the simplest results and process through tapping than I do some of these other ones. These other ones to me are too complicated. And I'm not so sure that I get the results out of those as much as I do from tapping. And I've studied, I'm actually a registered hypnotherapist. Now, I haven't really used it because, frankly, I think tapping is better and easier. The results are phenomenal. And I've looked at the Sedona method, although I can't say I gave it a real fair chance, but something turned me off about it, and it was a while ago. I don't even remember what it was. Now, I'm not knocking these things. I think they're wonderful. I think they're good. I'm saying what I choose to use and what I have found works great with my clients, and that's tapping. If you're into law of attraction or self-improvement, I mentioned earlier, quite often you get blocks, and a lot of time it's a fear of wealth. Okay, if you're broke, you're trying like crazy to improve yourself and get a business going and so on, but in the back of your mind you've got this fear that I can't succeed. How can I succeed? And when we get to tapping, you're going to find out that a teacher once told you you're too dumb to learn, or you're too stupid to do something, or a parent or somebody says something in anger that they don't even mean, but it stays with you. Okay. And that's the unfortunate part. I mean, we all say stuff that we don't mean, and we have no idea that we're doing as much damage as we are to the people that we love, but it happens. And we need to deal with that. I was working with one gent who had two sets of grandparents. One pair of grandparents were quite well to do, and the other were a lower working class. And, you know, their thing was that rich people are bad people. Well, if that's a belief that you have, you need to change that belief if you want wealth. Because how can you possibly attract wealth in any manner if you think that you're going to be a bad person if you have money? So that's a limiting belief. Okay, that's what limiting beliefs are. They limit you from moving ahead. Okay, so it's all negative stuff, and we got to eliminate the negative stuff. I've worked with my son was a hockey player, and he got a bruise, a hockey puck went between the pads. I think it was the inside of his left knee or something, and it was awfully painful. And I said, "Don't worry about it, kiddo. When we get home, I'll work with you." So I sat down with him, and 10 minutes later, he couldn't even find the bruise with his fingers. He's feeling around. He's going, "Well, I'm pretty sure it was right here, but now I can't tell anymore." You know, so even things like immediate pain, you can often, if not all the time, release through tapping. There is one other thing that I want to tell you, though. When you're doing the setup phrase and when you're doing the language, you do not have to be specific and say, even though is pretty generic, so that's fine. But I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Some people say, I deeply and completely accept myself. I deeply accept myself. I accept myself totally. Any of that stuff. What you need to do is use what fits in your mouth. So if you were working with me one-on-one, I would say to you, don't use the words that I use. Use the words that fit in your mouth. So use your words. And if you have to drop some F-bombs or whatever, that's fine. If you, a great example, a study I read about a while ago was a lady in the southern U.S., where they call it the honeydew, the honeydew accents. And she was not getting any success when she was working with somebody. because she was mimicking their speech pattern. When she flipped it to her speech pattern, oh, I love myself, whatever it was. I can't remember the words, but it was in her mouth and it felt right in her mouth. Then all of a sudden, the level of discomfort was just shooting down. So all these things, they're pretty simple, they're pretty basic, but if you don't know it, you don't know it, right? So that's the beauty of working with somebody. But you can do an awful lot on your own. But if you can't root out the problem, then you need to turn to somebody like me that can help you out with that sort of thing. Maria, did you want to open it up for some questions and see what people are thinking?
Yeah, I'll open it up to some questions, and then we're going to do a demonstration with Tori, who's agreed to go through some tapping.
Oh, Tori, cool.
Okay, so
I don't know anything about this, by the way. This is totally new on me, and that's fine. I've not spoken to Tori about this at all.
No, you haven't. All right, so I'm going to, I just want to request that everybody, I don't know how your screens work or anything, but I'm going to unmute you. Or actually, yeah, I'll just unmute you. Just let's try not to talk over one another, please.
Yeah.
Okay, you're all unmuted. Hi, everybody. All right, Suanne has a question.
Do you have to say it out loud?
No. Good question. No, you do not. You can totally say it in your head. But you do want to say it with feeling. That's what I was trying to think of. I had this question in my mind when Janice was talking. People ask me, like, with law of attraction, you have to believe in the system for it to work. In EFT, you absolutely do not have to believe that it works. I was working with a guy one time, and he had this tone of voice. He was a friend of mine. He was a fiddler, and he liked to go in these fiddling contests. And he found that when he gets up on stage, his shoulder, which is crucial to a fiddler, would tense up on him. And so the next day, I was telling him a little bit about tapping. I said, come on, do some with me. I said, how's your shoulder right now? Oh, it's still tense. Oh, yeah, it'll be tense for a few days. I said, well, not anymore. So I told him the points. He was blind as well. I'm blind. And he was blind. And I described the points to him. I never touched him. That's the other nice thing about tapping. I never have to actually touch you. Just talk. That's all. And he had this tone of voice, like, even though and you can just hear it in his mind. Mike's an idiot. Mike's an idiot. As he's going through these tapping points. And we went through a couple of rounds. I said, how's your shoulder? And he's, wow. So, no, you do not have to believe in tapping because it's beyond your belief. It's meridians, okay? You're tapping on acupressure points. So, belief is not a factor in this one either. So that's also really cool. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, that's a good question.
Any other questions? No?
Yeah, I don't have any.
Okay. Alexis, do you have a question? No?
I don't think so. I'd rather see how it works.
Okay, perfect. All right, so then I'm going to, once again, mute everyone except for Mike and Tori. So, prepared to be muted. Thank you.
Okay, am I there?
You are. Tori, speak.
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. Before we get started, I'm going to tell everybody that one thing that I do not need to know is your life history. If there's a problem that you're having, your life will unfold as we tap. So you do not need to, talk for 10 minutes telling me what your issue is. And I often cut people off. I say, okay, I've got enough. Let's go. Because I work with somebody for an hour. I get paid for an hour, and I want to save them the time and get them the results. So it's all about results. All right, Tori, tell me what's up.
I'm not really sure what to say. I'm just kind of taken back about like this whole thing. This is like really new to me. Yeah, I don't know what you want me to say.
Well, is there like an issue that you have? Are you one of those that experiences a lot of anxiety, for example, or is there something that is there an issue that you have that you can think of right now that you want to eliminate or at least make a dent in?
Yeah, definitely. Anxiety is my like number one issue that I have right now.
Okay. And what do you know what makes you anxious?
I haven't really pinpointed exactly what triggers my anxiety because there's a lot of things that trigger my anxiety.
Okay.
So,
All right.
um,
Well, you know what? Even that right there is enough because remember, as we're tapping, things are going to pop up in your mind. You're going to see a picture. And when this happens, by the way, just stop me and say, Mike, I just saw a picture of such and such. I just heard so and so say such and such. Okay. And it will happen sooner or later. So if you like, how are you feeling right now as far as anxious?
I'm I'm a little anxious. My like palms are all sweaty.
Oh, wow. Okay. So if you were going to put a number to it from 0 being not anxious at all to 10 being off the scale, where would you be?
I'm in between a 5 and 6.
Okay. So sweaty palms. All right. All right. So we're just going to go with generic because we don't have anything really specific to tap on. Okay. And excuse me. So we're just going to go to the side of the hand. All right. Even though I'm feeling anxious, you can say it out loud or you can say it to yourself, but you can say it out loud for now.
Okay.
Even though I'm feeling anxious,
Even
I
though
accept myself.
I accept myself.
And now, does that sound okay to you? I accept myself. Can you say that?
I accept
Some people
myself. Yeah.
can't. Yeah. Okay. Some people, if they say, I love myself or whatever, it brings up a whole other category that we need to tap on first. So it's always good to know whether that's a problem or not. All right. So again, even though I'm feeling anxious,
Even though I'm feeling anxious,
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
Even though I'm feeling anxious,
Even though I'm feeling anxious,
I accept myself. Now, the reason that we're doing this, by the way, is to bring it up more, okay, to bring it in focus more. That's the only reason we're doing the side of the hand. Now we're going to work on eliminating it. So top of the head, I feel anxious.
I
On
feel
the
anxious.
eyebrow, I feel anxious. Okay, side of the eye, I feel anxious. Under the eye, I feel anxious. Are you still with me? You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. Under the nose, I feel anxious. Chin, I feel anxious.
I feel anxious.
Collarbone, I feel anxious.
I feel anxious.
Under the arm, I feel anxious.
I feel anxious.
Deep breath. Okay. Now, did anything come up for you while we were doing that? Any situation, any pictures, any voices?
No,
No? Okay. That's fine. How are you feeling on the anxious scale, 0 to 10?
I'm actually a little more anxious.
That's good. Movement is good. It doesn't matter what direction it is, as long as we're moving. All right. So, because you're feeling more anxious, we're not even going to bother with the side of the hand right now because you're already there. We don't need to bring it up. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
We don't need to do the side of the hand. We're just going to go straight to the top of the head and say, this remaining anxious, or in this case, I'm still feeling anxious on the
I'm
eyebrow.
still okay. I'm still feeling anxious.
Side of the eye, I'm still feeling anxious.
I'm still feeling anxious.
Under the eye, I'm still feeling anxious.
I'm still feeling anxious.
Under the nose, I'm still feeling anxious.
I'm still feeling anxious.
Chin, I'm still feeling anxious.
I'm still feeling anxious.
Collarbone, still feeling anxious.
I'm still feeling anxious.
Under the arm, I'm still feeling anxious. Now
I'm
stay
still,
with me. Stay under the arm for a second. something that happens to me when I work with people is I don't necessarily follow the recipe. I do in the beginning, and then I jump around a little bit. And this is going to be one of those times where I'm just going to let my hand jump around a little bit. All right. So I'm going to go back up to the chin. Still feeling anxious.
I'm still feeling anxious.
Eyebrow, under the eye. Still feeling anxious.
I'm still feeling anxious.
Collarbone. Still feeling anxious.
I'm still feeling anxious.
Chin. Still feeling anxious.
I'm still feeling anxious.
Collarbone. Still feeling anxious.
I'm still feeling anxious.
Okay. Take a deep breath. Okay. How's the anxiety level 0 to 10 now? 0 being not at all.
I'm a lot calmer. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That kind of wow. That kind of blew me back a little. No, when we were doing that, I could feel myself like calm down a little, and like with anxiety, it's not.
You don't calm down that quickly, do you? Normally.
No.
No. No. That's where this really works for you, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. So 0 to 10, where are you now?
I'm like a 1.
Wow. You started, what was it, 6, 7, then you went up to an 8 or something like that, and then now you're down to a 1. You know, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Wow.
That's wonderful. I love it. That's what makes this such a thrilling career to have. And it is not my first career, by the way. This is something that when I put together my video courses, and I'll be working with students one-on-one and in small groups and doing seminars on stage and all the rest of that stuff, I will always demonstrate tapping, but I will not always do this, on an ongoing regular basis. I love it, but I love other stuff more. I love teaching sort of self-improvement area, how to achieve your dreams. That excites me just a little bit more. Anyway, so we brought you down to a 1. So when you we could probably do another round and bring you down to a 0, but you know what to do now. You can take it down yourself.
Okay.
Okay? Are you good with that?
Yeah, did you want me to do it right now? I think I got it.
Yeah. Do you want to go another round, or do you think you got it?
I think I can handle it. That was easier than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a sweet and simple process. If you have young children, it's great to tap on them or teach them to tap on themselves when you put them to bed at night. There is no better way of going to sleep than doing this process. And on yourself every day. If you're married or whatever, and your husband's pissed you off, or your wife or whatever, then every night before you go to bed, tap off the day's events that have annoyed you. I mean, if you can bring up a level of discomfort, then tap it off. All right. It's a great way to go to sleep. And in fact, when I work with somebody, when I'm done working with them for an hour, almost without exception, they go to bed and they have the best sleep that they've had in years. So that's really nice to hear too when I talk to them, follow up with them later on. All right. So you're good, Tori?
Yeah, I am. I'm still in shock. So this is just really, I've never heard of this. So this is it's just amazing. Hopefully I can get really good at this and, not have to take prescription medicine that make me drowsy and stuff like that. So this is really amazing.
I will never tell anybody not to take a prescription medication. That's not my job. That's beyond. I missed that. There was a message that came through, but I missed that. How would you tap? But anyway, what I was going to say is that you can eliminate. Yes, to help you sleep. Yes, you can get off of antidepressants and so on and so forth by removing the negative emotions that we have, because that's what's making us depressed. Now, there could be other reasons for depression. There could be chemical imbalances that I'm not aware of. That's not my field, and I'll never tell anybody to stop taking medication. I'm just saying it's possible that if you work with your doctor, you can reduce and ultimately eliminate a lot of medications using this process.
Okay.
Okay. All right, you good? You got anything else for me?
I am great, really.
Yeah, I think you are too.
All right, so I'm going to unmute everyone. Sue Ann had a question. She's,
Yeah, about sleep.
yeah, she put it in the chat. Sue Ann, what was your question?
Well, if you're not having any real major issue, but you had mentioned to help sleep better at night, you can do tapping. So if you don't have a focal point of something that's bothering you, how would you go through the process? What would the process be for that, since you have nothing to focus on?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, like I say, a lot of the time when you do tap, even though you don't know what you're tapping on or about, things will come up and it will direct you. But you don't have to have a big precipitating event, to tap off. So you just could be tapping on, even though I want to wind down and have a great night's sleep, I accept myself totally, just tap. And just tapping on the meridian points by themselves, if you don't have absolutely anything at all, just tap. And if nothing comes up, great. But you'll still feel more relaxed after you're done. It's sort of the emotional equivalent to a massage, only a whole lot less painful. Does that answer your question or not really?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Now, the other thing is if you're having, like if you're laying in bed and you're actually trying to go to sleep, this is a trick that I've come up with along the way. That, excuse me again, cold's going around here. And so far I've been able to duck it, just barely. If you are laying in bed and you're having trouble going to sleep, the actual physical act of tapping will, of course, keep you awake because you're moving, right? You're moving. So what you want to do in that scenario is just lay there, close your eyes, and mentally tap. Just picture yourself tapping on the various meridian points. And very likely you'll find yourself drifting off before you're done a couple of rounds.
Okay.
Okay?
Does anybody else have questions? Nobody has any more questions? No?
I kind of have a question. As far as you said, I can like do tapping on my daughter. She's 4, and how would I go about doing that?
Again, a 4-year-old wouldn't have a whole lot of emotional trauma. Or we hope that
Yeah.
4-year-old
Well,
doesn't.
she's very sensitive.
Yeah.
I believe she has traits of an empath. She's just really sensitive when it comes to, animals and such. So, even to help her sleep would be good, to tap,
Yeah.
just again, I don't know.
Yeah. One thing, like when the child is upset, that's a great time to tap if you can get them to do so.
Okay.
And the collarbone point, I think I mentioned earlier. If not, I will now. It's a very relaxing point, the collarbone. So if she's worked up, collarbone point is a very relaxing point. So if she's crying and upset, just tap on the collarbone point, or you can tap on all the points. There is not, you don't have to have a need to tap to find it relaxing. So just before she goes to bed, if there's nothing in particular that's going on, then just go around the tapping points and say, let's have some fun. Let's tap on each other. So she can tap on you and you can tap on her, or she can tap on her as you're tapping on you, and say, do what mommy does. And see, like, that will, it can't do any harm. There's no way it can do any harm. Okay. Is that helpful?
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. No questions, right? Or do we have questions? No? All right, Mike, then you can close it all up.
Okay. Because Maria and I have gone back some years now, she's no buddy of mine. I told her that I would come on and work with you folks today. And if you do wish to do some one-on-one work with me, let Maria know, and she'll give you my email address because I don't really want to put it on this MP3. And I will give you a 50% reduction in cost. So I don't normally do that. It's just not something that I do, because what I do is, as we saw, is very, very helpful, and it can really change life. But for Maria's people, I will give a 50% reduction. And yeah, watch out for stuff. I'm going to be pretty soon. I'll be getting YouTube videos going. I'll be getting Facebook going. I'll be getting podcasts going. Maybe even some Vimeo. I've already got a book written. You can find that on Amazon and so on. You can also email me, and I'll be glad to send you a copy. And whatever the cost of the book is, plus shipping, obviously. And yeah, we can build a really, really good life and change at least our corner of the world, which is what we want to do. So, yeah, any questions that you may have on down the road, let Maria know, and she'll pass on the email address. I am on Facebook right now, but I haven't created the Michael Edward Facebook page yet. So anyway, yeah. So you can get me through, Maria, at this point. Okay. And I thank you very much for coming today. I really appreciate it. And Tori, special thank you to you.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us as well.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to come in and check it out. I personally have experienced tapping with Mike, and it is amazing. It truly, truly was life-changing. I had issues that came up that I wasn't even aware were there. Like Janice had said earlier, it's an awesome technique, and it truly is life-changing. So I want to thank you all. Thank you all for taking the time out of your night and spending it with us here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Maria.